Hello, everyone. Welcome to WGSN-DB Going Solo Network. You're listening to Date the Right One, and I am so pleased to be here with you. I am Cece Shatz, the Doyenne of relationship building. And, we're going to speed dial it pretty quick because we've got a great guest on tonight, and I don't want to miss out on a minute with her. But I do need to share how we're sponsored by our goingsolocommunity.com, which is a community for singles, and that takes you from relationship loss through the transition of dating and really stepping forward into your new single life, connecting with other singles. And then also the Meet the Right One, a brand new, unique dating community. It's a community, very, very different from everything out there. So check it out. It's meettherightone.com. I am affiliated with both of those, and so I'm very proud to say that. I hope you will check them out. Those of you that don't know me, I am Cece Shatz. I'm the Doyenne of relationship building. I'm a divorce, dating, and a life coach. I connect singles through the Going Solo Network. Our major site is goingsolonetwork.com. And of course, all of our media is right here on goingsolomedia.com. Now we've gotten all that stuff done. So let's talk about what we're going to do tonight. Tonight, we're going to talk about, and this is what you're going to get. This is your takeaway. Kim Von Berg, she's going to reveal to us the most powerful ways that you can stop any past painful patterns that you have had in your love life and begin immediately to set the stage for attracting an amazing, emotional, healthy mate who can match your vibration, to match your levels. And isn't that pretty awesome? I mean, we are so thrilled to be able to have her here tonight. Let's bring her forward. Hello, Kim. How are you?
I'm doing fantastically well. I'm
Oh,
so thrilled to be here.
yes.
Cece, what an honor to get to join you on your
Oh,
show.
well, we are so proud to have you. You are one of our special elites, and we want to thank you for really standing ground with us and side by side and helping us and sponsoring the Going Solo Network. So we appreciate that. Those of you out there, if you haven't met Kim, you've missed out. So you got to meet her now. It's Kim Von Berg. She specializes in healthy romantic partnerships, and her business is Thriving Loving Relationships. And you've been in business for quite some time now. You've been in business for over 20 years, right?
Yes, actually, I think I'm going on the 25th year.
Oh my gosh.
Might be one more than that, but a long time.
Doesn't time fly when you have fun, right?
Oh, yes.
Yeah. Well, you're the authority in love and empowered relationships, and you're quite sought after being a speaker, trainer, and a counselor and coach. And you assist clients towards the life of fulfillment and love and relationships. And you help not only singles, but you also help those that have traveled through into marriage and trying to keep that together. So I commend you for that. But thank you so much for being with us here.
Thank you. I'm very grateful.
Yes. Well, we're going to talk tonight about how to stop the disappointing patterns in romance. And tell us a little bit, Kim, about yourself. Like what got you into being an expert in relationships?
Oh gosh, do we have a couple hours? No, I'm just kidding.
And why
um,
are you in it still?
yeah. Yeah, I think years and years ago, I actually co-began this this actual business. Although you wouldn't even recognize what it was back then. But my late spouse and I began a business which was primarily around helping people in communication skills in relationships. And it's morphed immensely. Of course, I lost my spouse, but and so I'm a widow, but I actually have focused in on everything it takes, not only in a relationship, but how to prepare yourself to be in an amazing, healthy partnership. So it's been an evolution that's been, I am so grateful. It's really my calling. And I really feel that love and relationships are an opportunity for transformation, I would call it. It's sort of God's gift. I don't know people that don't believe in God, but I just really feel like we're blessed with this opportunity to go that deep with another person and to have this opportunity to expand what we could not have done without this, without intimacy and love.
Yeah, you're so right.
And I really
And it is
believe that we can prepare ourselves as singles when we're looking for a mate to take a stand for that level of a partnership, a healthy, thriving partnership.
Yeah, I like
Yeah.
that very much because I think so often we think about dating, right? When we come out of, especially in our area here, because we have a lot of people from a relationship loss of some sort, whether it be by death or by divorce, and then they decide they want to step forward into dating. They don't realize that there's a transition there that they must go through. And there's also a bit of a learning curve, right? Because you're starting to explore yourself as being a new single and you're starting to kind of come into your own, so to speak, right?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, and you're an expert in that too, Cece, I know. So,
Yeah, well, thank you.
yeah.
But not like you, because you're in a thriving, loving relationship.
But I
So,
think what I mean is the area of what do you do? Like, let's say you had a really horrible divorce, or you lost your spouse to death, or like that whole process of grieving and growing. I know you're so good at that.
yeah,
But I think there comes a point once you've done all that, that you realize, let's say you came out of a marriage that really didn't work, and it was something you really don't want to have to repeat again. So, or anything close to it. So it's like what where we create our power to take a stand for something new and something amazing to come into our lives, in possibility around love, is when we can look at what our part in the past disappointing patterns has been, because that's where our power is. We can actually turn that around.
right.
Yeah.
Yeah, so right. I've often said you won't get over, the relationship, the past relationship, until you understand the part you played in the demise of the relationship. And that's also, like you said, understanding those patterns because you don't want to repeat those patterns again, right? You want to be able to, number one, acknowledge them, see them, and then the part you had to play in them so that you can create that shift.
Hmm. And I think I probably should give people, just so they can wrap their head around what I'd like to explore, is more the patterns when you start to get yourself out there to date, and you just keep attracting that addict or that narcissist or that person who's just completely, I don't know, I'm assuming you have get both men and women to your
Yes.
audience. So
We
I'm
have
gonna
quite a lot of men, believe it or not. We have
Oh,
quite a lot
that's
of men in
great. Oh, that's beautiful.
our
It's testament to how the
Mm.
quality of your what you offer. But yeah, so basically you look at, why do I keep, finding that unavailable woman that's just emotionally shut down, or why do I keep attracting the bad boy that ends up doing something horrible, or basically it's looking at what is our part in that, even though of course they play a part. I mean, so you can't just say it's all your fault, but it's
Right.
like looking at subtle things. Like, do we, on the first date, do we allow the person to just talk and never ask, be curious about us? Or do we, so there's subtle things that we're doing to play into that. And so that's what we want to look at. um, I'm gonna be, but I'm gonna actually pause there before I just launch into a big lecture. So I want to kind of do a dialogue with you. So what do you think people are curious about around this before I go in down
Around
a tangent?
about the patterns, around the
Yeah.
patterns.
Hmm.
Yeah, I mean, I think that they realize and that their relationship, something happened in their relationship and they don't want to repeat that again, right? And so they're a little bit scared to be able to step forward into having another relationship because they don't want to fail again, right?
Hmm.
But in
Yeah,
but in
exactly.
essence, if you have that fear of failure, you will fail, right? So you
Hmm.
have to be strong in your own mindset, knowing, what you want and what set your boundaries, right? And I think that's what you're saying is like you've got to kind of set your boundaries. If someone is you're going to someone and all they're doing is talking about themselves or whatever, they're just too into themselves, right? So you want someone that's going to be interested in you. And so you
Hmm.
have to kind of understand that. And then when that happens, then you can just say, listen, it was really great talking to you, but I just don't think, you're a great person
Yeah.
or whatever. I just don't think we're a good match, and
Yeah.
and just move on with it,
Right.
or were they nervous? Maybe give them another shot. I always say try 2 or 3 dates, and then if it doesn't work out, move on.
And also express, like we can practice good communication skills in dating. So even
Mhm.
if let's say you're noticing 20 minutes into the date that the person's talking nonstop about themselves, you might just say, I'd love to have a dialogue where we're both sharing about each other. Just like give them a clue of how you're experiencing their behavior. And
Mhm.
if they still talk, then this isn't going to work. But you communicate, you're upfront about what's going on. But I actually want to take this a little deeper around not just the specific dates and what we do. I want to look at when people come to me and say, because I work a lot with singles in the model of, I'm a mentor coach for Catherine Wilbur Thomas's Calling in the One program. So
Mhm.
we really do the deep dive inwardly and see where we're actually centered. And so if somebody is realizing, I just never meet a guy that's, let's say a woman's not, she's just not ever meeting the quality that she wants, then it's just like no matter how hard she might do a date every night and like do all her work, and still she just never meets the person who could match her in what she envisions for a healthy, thriving, evolved partnership. So
Mhm.
if that's happening, we want to look at not so much the outward, like, oh gosh, am I going to the right meetup groups? Am I on the right dating apps? Am I that? Not just that part, that outward stuff,
Mhm.
but it's more, what kind of energy am I putting out into the world? What am I actually believing about my lovability? Because a lot of times in our first experience of love and bonding, let's face it, is childhood. And
Mhm.
if we had an experience where there was not loving, nurturing energy coming our way as a child,
Mhm.
or we had trauma happening, or we had a parent leave or die, or, like if we had some things that happened that affected our sense of lovability, that actually gets lodged in what kind of energy we put out as adults. So we might, let's say, I keep hearing a background noise. Do you guys hear that?
No. Mm-mm.
Okay, maybe it's just me, so I won't worry about. Um, but yeah, so let's say you took away that I'm not good enough, for example, and somewhere you didn't get the love you deserved as a child, and you somehow deeply unconsciously, most of this stuff is unconscious, you believe that you are unlovable or you're not good enough. So let's say it was you're not good enough. Well, you're going to try too hard in the dating experience. Like you're going to probably do too much to try to prove that you are good enough. And that ends up kind of pushing people away when we might get into perfectionism, or we might get into um, too much approaching them, texting. I mean, it can manifest in many different behaviors, but
Mhm.
that energy of trying to prove yourself or trying to overcome that you're not good enough actually will attract the wrong people, and with the right people, it might be pushing them away. So we kind of want to look at what are we doing in our behaviors and what are we believing about our own selves deep down. And I do the work. I've been trained in the kind of training I've done as a mentor coach with Catherine to really go, because a lot of this is unconscious. Like we can't really notice. It's like, how do you ask a fish, what is water? Like, or we ask ourselves, what's air? It's kind of hard to identify it.
Mhm.
But once you can go to the deep inner place of identifying what are you actually holding as your belief in love about your own self, your self identity, and then recognize it's actually false. You are good enough. You are lovable. You are whatever it is that you were believing, it's false. And then we do the work of noticing what's really true, and then what kind of behaviors are we going to need to change And we might even need to learn some new things. Like you mentioned about boundaries.
Mhm.
Well, sometimes when we're living, let's say, and I'm not wanted or something like that, well, we never expressed our needs because if you're not wanted, you're always trying to be wanted, right?
Right,
So
right.
so you won't adopt certain skills like I'm like setting boundaries or expressing your needs
Mhm,
or not even recognizing your needs, let alone expressing them.
mhm. Such good information. I tell you, this is
Yeah,
really great. Yeah, absolutely fabulous. And you're right. So often we think that, it's the other person. Why am I attracting this? Why am I attracting that? And in reality, you are attracting them because it's something that's happening from within. Yeah. So
exactly.
yeah, very good. That was very good advice. Yeah. So we're gonna take a quick break, and when we come back, let's talk a little bit more about the patterns and how we can try to cope with those and really start to understand them, because I think that's the big problem. Don't you think, Kim, is that we don't really know we've got an issue until we start really getting frustrated with it, right?
Yes, exactly.
So I think that's really what it is. But I want to share Kim's information with you before we do that. You can go to her website. It's thrivinglovingrelationships.com and find out a lot of information there. She's got a tremendous amount of information there. And she also has her personal website, which is kimvonberg.com. That's KIMVONBERG.com. You want to really check out both of these sites because they have a wealth of information that you don't want to miss out. And if you're struggling, definitely you can connect with her there, send her a message, and she will get back in touch with you and maybe kind of help you through whatever this situation is that you have. So you can get to the other side, and get that thriving, loving relationship that we all want, right? We all crave that, don't we, Kim?
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah, we sure do. So we're going to be right back. You're listening to Date the Right One. That's exactly what we want for you. We want you to start dating the right one. I am Cece Shatz. You're listening to WGSN-DB Going Solo Network, and we'll be right back. Well, welcome back. You guys are listening to Date the Right One on WGSN-DB Going Solo Network. I am Cece Shatz, a Doyenne of relationship building. I'm a divorce, dating, and a life coach connecting singles throughout our Going Solo Network. And you can find all of our information right there on goingsolonetwork.com, all our media on goingsolomedia.com. Again, we want to thank our sponsors, Going Solo Community.com and meettherightone.com. And thank you so much. Check those out. We would appreciate it. You guys are really in for a big treat. We have Kim Von Berg. She's a relationship expert. Her website is Thriving Loving Relationships, and that is exactly what she does. She helps you really achieve that. And that is so important in our lives to be able to move forward and living a very happy, fulfilling a life. And so you definitely want to check her out. Her websites, we're going to say it again, it's thrivinglovingrelationships.com. And then, of course, her personal site is kimvonberg.com. That's KIMVONBERG.com. But not to worry, if you lose it, right there on WGSN, she's one of our elites. So her page is there. You just look under elites and find her and all of her information there. Click right through and send her a message and let her know that you are ready to start living your life, your best life, and she'll help you do that. So, Kim, we're talking about how to stop the disappointing patterns in romance. So, you had some great tips for us at the beginning of the show. And if anyone's missed that, you want to make sure you listen to that all the way through. But let's carry on with that conversation because I think we're really hitting on something here big.
Yeah, I actually want to give a sense because I think where we left off before the break is it could almost seem kind of depressing. I don't want to leave it on that note, or because we were talking about these unconscious things that we carry and how it affects our adult romance experience, and it can affect it very negatively. And so I want to actually give a sense of what can actually happen to turn that, or what someone can do to turn that around.
Mm-hmm.
So they're not just stuck there, right? I mean, you can actually turn that completely around and start to enjoy amazing people that you are meeting for dating who have the potential to create a thriving, beautiful partnership with. So let me kind of step through a couple things that I do initially with people. So the first step usually is around helping the single that I'm working with to come up with a vision for the most beautiful vision they could possibly imagine of themselves in an extraordinary, healthy, thriving, emotionally healthy partnership. And
Mm-hmm.
so I help them evolve this. So, because some people don't even have a vision, it's like it's not even in their possibility to create such a vision. So we kind of work on that. So they come up with this beautiful vision, and then we want them to create an intention to become the person they would need to be to actually fulfill on that vision of attracting that level of a mate who could match them on all levels. What would who would they need to become in order to become magnetic to that level of a partner? So that's kind of the beginning because we want people to really sense what's possible and then see what is their part in it. So they set an intention. And then from there, we do the work of looking at what are the old patterns, like what has been inhibiting you from actually attracting that kind of mate or from actually having a healthy relationship like that. What has been your patterns? So we look, people get really honest. They look at that whole thing, like what's been going on. Like right now, if I could ask everyone that's listening to this just to think back, like the last, let's say, 2 or 3 relationships that you've been in, or
Mm-hmm.
even if you've not been in anything for 10 years or a long time, like you look at that, like look at your patterns and look at like where were the breakdowns, where did things not work, and so like really dive into that and then ask yourself, like what was my part in that, in attracting or like hanging in there with that narcissist for years and years, or like what was my part. And so then from there, I usually go, that's when we dive into looking at what have you been believing about yourself. In Catherine Wilbur Thomas's work, she calls it the false love identity. And sometimes it takes some help, like with a professional, to go that deep to identify that. But then once you can identify that, and also kind of the other beliefs that were created around that, like we believe, let's say, for example, you believe you weren't good enough, then you might believe that your person, I started to say men, but whatever the sex you're attracted to, what were you believing about them? So it might be once they find out who I really am, they're going to reject me. Like, so you look at that, all the beliefs that were kind of created around that false identity, or even about life, like life will not support me, or life, I will not be able to create my dreams because I'm not good enough or whatever. So you look at all the sort of matrix of beliefs that were created in this, and then one by one, you recognize their faults and what's really true. And then we do the work at looking at what kind of habits and behaviors did you adopt in those beliefs. So let's say, for example, you believe that I'm not wanted. And of course, you step into believing you're wanted by the right people.
Right.
Like you step into that. And then you look at, oh, well, because I tried so hard to be wanted, I didn't express my needs. And so I don't even know how to express my needs. So like we go about the work of like changing the behaviors and acquiring the skills and development that's needed to truly live in I'm wanted, or truly live in not only am I good enough, I'm an extraordinary being that's meant to be here on this earth. Whatever the new belief that's the actual truth. Then we look at what kind of behaviors and new habits we need to adopt to enforce that. So
That's
I probably
powerful.
blabbed on a little bit lengthy
No, no,
here,
no.
so I'm going to
That
be
that is
paused.
very powerful, extremely powerful, and great amount of information there because
Yeah.
it is true that I mean you can do this work yourself. I think it's a little bit maybe easier to talk to someone like yourself because you can kind of pull that a little bit out because I think sometimes we don't always get ourselves a little bit, but as we talk that starts pulling, you can start pulling that out and starting to understand that. But what it's going to do, it's going to really open up your mind, your mindset, and you're going to do a complete shift, and that will raise your vibration, and you'll start attracting people into your life that you really do resonate with, because isn't that what the relationship is about? Is it's those individuals that we really have that being with, right? We kind of have that knowing that when you meet someone, maybe you ever heard that, love at first sight or whatever. It's because there's a vibration level there that you're on the same wavelength, and then you start to understand each other, and really digging more into the individual themselves. But I think you're really hitting something here with the fact that really drawing out some of the things that happened in our past to understand, is this a pattern that's being created? Are we creating that pattern in our own mindset? Are we doing that?
Hmm.
And so, yeah,
Yeah,
beautiful.
like another real typical one I see. There's many typical ones, but
Hmm.
I'm trying to actually name some of the ones that are the very most common false
Right.
identities.
Hmm.
Another one is I'm alone and I'm destined to be alone. And I think it's sort of a Western society one more than, because let's face it, we have so many ways in this society in developed society that we can just isolate. Right? I mean, we can live alone, we can hang out on our computer all day, we can whatever, we can just be alone. And so it's looking at what's our part in creating that. So if we really believe that we're alone, then what are the kinds of things we do? Like we only sign up for things that are we like the gym where we only work out by ourselves, or we only, everything we end up doing in an isolated fashion. So, and also when we start to get involved with someone, do we share our inner selves with them? Maybe we're in a habit of keeping that completely private. We don't know how to be vulnerable. So it's looking at how do we get vulnerable with someone
Hmm.
and share. And some of those are some skills to develop.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, and I've mentioned this before with some friends, is that what happens is that you create yourself to be unavailable because
Yes.
you're in this
Good point.
mindset, the singular mindset, that you're going to be alone, right? And so that's the vibration, or that's what you're displaying to other people. And it's great to be independent. It's great to be, a little self-sufficient and be happy with your life
Yes.
the way it is. And kudos to you for being okay with being single, being by yourself.
Yeah.
That's great.
Yeah.
But it's not okay when you use that as a crutch because you're actually afraid to get step into another relationship. You're afraid, and a lot of guys I'll hear a lot of times them say, well, they don't want to lose, right? Because they had, a divorce, they lost a lot of money, they lost, their heart, their
Mhm.
self-esteem, things like that. But then I say to them, well, you might be afraid of what you're going to lose, but you have to think about what you're going to gain,
Exactly.
and what are
Yeah.
you going to miss out if you don't take the chance, right? If you don't
Right.
step forward. And so, yeah.
Yeah. And also I think, um, there's been sort of the model that you just jump into a relationship, you jump into bed the first date, or you do these things, or you just don't date, or you string someone along for years and years or whatever. So it's like these are the options. It's like there's a way to kind of pace yourself in getting to know someone and
Mhm.
date. Like I'm of the ilk to say wait before you get sexual, because especially for women, it's our hormones. It's like we bond, right? So it's like if you have sex on the first date, it's like but you may end up bonding to the wrong person and not see the red flags.
Mhm.
Yeah, like you just won't be able to see the red flags because you're all already goo goo gaga over this person. So
Right.
it's like pace yourself one step at a time. There's a way to get more vulnerable with them in stages. And
Mhm.
then you can see if they have the character for a healthy partnership. Then you can decide that it's time for to be sexual, or it's time to do more things to get vulnerable and to bond with them further.
Yeah, that's great
But I
advice.
know that was so foreign to me after I became a widow and started dating again, and that whole thing about pacing. It seems like such a logical thing, but somehow most people don't seem to know how to do it too well.
Yeah, because your hormones start going and you're like, "Oh, yeah, I understand. I'm single, I get it." But
Yeah,
yeah, but, I think too that women, we do give up ourselves, right? And so when we make that connection like that, there's really no turning back from that. And I think guys kinda like a little bit of the mystery. They like a little bit of the chase, right? A
yeah.
little bit of they wanna, so I think it's kind of important to hang on just a little bit and make sure it's the right connection that you want, right?
Right. And the person, make sure you know their character enough where you know they're not the kind of person that's just gonna have a fling and then disappear, or, just be rude and obnoxious, or, like you get to know them better.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Mhm. Yeah.
And that's about really believing we're worth it, right?
Mhm.
Because if you don't believe you're worth it, or you have value, or that you're good enough and all these things I've been mentioning, you're not you're gonna think, "Oh, they're gonna disappear on me if I don't do what they want."
Mhm.
But if you truly believe that, you're gonna attract the person, the type of quality of a person into your life who will value you and be willing to do the wait, be willing to do the pacing.
Right.
Yeah.
Mhm. Absolutely. Yeah, you want, I often think about that, and I think that what you want to do is think about, do you want this person, do you want to wake up next to this person and have breakfast the next day? Do you want to like spend the next day with that person? Because if you don't want to, then maybe it's not a good thing. It's not, you're not ready yet,
Right.
you know. So and that's why I think a lot of times it's wham bam thank you ma'am. It's because it's too it's too early and there's no true connection made there. And
Yes.
so yeah, you want that full connection. So yeah, I totally agree with that. And
And that's
that is
just
a
one
part.
of a few skills. Sorry, I think I interrupted you
No,
there.
no, that's okay.
But yeah, I just think there's quite a few things we recognize when we step into knowing our true value,
Mhm.
that we start to realize, oh, I don't even know how to do this, or I don't know how to write a profile, or whatever, like, and it's can feel almost embarrassing because some of these things seem as simple, but hey, that's where the power is to recognize what things you need to develop. Or it could also be like even internal things or your relationship with yourself. Like, let's say every time you get upset or you get disappointed, and let's face it, dating is fraught with disappointment.
Hmm.
But let's say every time that happens, you end up doing self talk that's super negative and self loathing or something because you're inside of believing that you're damaged goods or whatever the faults. So let's say you have a habit of stepping into talking badly to yourself, then it's like, how do I turn that around? So one of them is self-soothing. If you're starting to feel upset or truly disappointed, the guy never got back to you or whatever, it's like the disappointment that comes up. It's like, how can you be there for yourself in a loving way, to talk yourself through the disappointment in a loving, supportive way? Yes, you can just like, for example, you just go inside and say, "Sweetheart, I know this is very disappointing, and we'll try again. You know, that one didn't work out. Thank God we found that out right away. You know, let's go for
Absolutely.
the next one."
Yeah, that's what I always say. Yeah, I'm glad I know now. Like one of my friends, we talk about like ghosting, right? When it goes, I said,
Oh, isn't that
I
terrible that
don't get
people do
upset
that?
over it. I say, hallelujah, let's get rid of him and move on.
Yeah, thank God they let us know, right? But
Yeah,
it's too bad they
thank
couldn't have
you.
done it nicer, but in a nicer
Yeah,
way.
I
But
mean, yeah, because think about it. If they stick, if they stuck around and this is their character, you're only going to have a problem anyhow.
yeah,
So yeah, be happy. Say yeah,
yes,
yeah. You
yes. But
did me
sometimes
you
we
did me a
need to
great
do
one.
that reassuring
Hmm.
self-talk and be
Hmm.
there for ourselves and just acknowledge, okay, I'm really disappointed. Like,
Hmm.
be there for our feelings.
Hmm. Yeah,
Yeah.
that's very good. That's very good information. Wealth of information. I tell you, you're doing a great job here tonight. I just
I think what I want to add to that too, Cece, is that
Mhm.
I think what I'm touching on also is a really big component of making room for healthy, thriving partner and attracting the kind of mate that could actually create that with you,
Mhm.
is self-love.
Yes.
And that includes self-care. We often think we confuse self-care with self-love, but self-love is even deeper than self-care is a component of it. But I think self-love is even deeper. It's just no matter what happens, you're there for yourself and you're loving yourself
Mhm.
and respecting yourself and doing the behavior that's needed to reinforce that you're respected and loved and appreciated. And not standing for the kind of people that won't do that.
Mhm.
Yeah. Because
Yeah.
a lot of times how we treat ourselves gets mirrored back to us with others. So
Mhm.
if we're treating ourselves poorly and talking badly inside our heads, then we're going to find people that will do the same.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's so important. I think too, as we start moving forward and dating more, this is truly the core of being successful. Is really understanding yourself and being respectful of yourself and knowing, setting your own boundaries, understanding what's important to you and where you need to heal. Because I think it evolves, right? We're continuously needing to heal, needing to find ourselves, needing to grow, because if we don't continue to build, then we become stifled, I think. So this is
Mhm.
yeah, this is very good
Yeah,
information.
and love, like I said when we first opened, is such an opportunity.
Hmm.
I mean, it can be super scary if we've had really traumatic things happen in that area.
Yeah.
So I totally understand when people go, "Oh, I'm not going through that again," or whatever, or "I lost all my savings," or whatever. So I understand why people can be afraid of it, but it's such a rich area of that we can grow in. It's such an
Hmm.
opportunity for growth.
Yeah.
And we need it. Let's face it, human beings need connection.
Hmm.
And yes, we can get connection with friends and family and loved ones and community, and which I actually think is part of a healthy relationship. So that it's not just the relationship. It's like, how can you create a whole community of connection? Not
Hmm.
just but I'm just saying, but that level of closeness to a human being is a rich area of development for us.
Hmm.
Yeah, it's a gift.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, and it's really, you're doing yourself a disservice if you want to totally shut yourself off. You truly are. And so I just feel that we're all beautiful individuals. And so why not share yourself with, with the world, with other people, with hopefully a potential partner in your life. And so,
Right.
yeah, I mean, I've had many through the divorce group who said, no, never, never, never. And they're married and have children now. And so it's very worthwhile to seeing the other side, but seeing that happiness, seeing that you can get through, difficulties and hard times, and really understanding yourself more and more. And I think what you're doing is beautiful, and I hope that people out there, that if they are struggling, that they contact you, because we all deserve a thriving, loving relationship. And the most important relationship, like you said, is with yourself,
Mhm,
you know?
mhm.
So, yeah, absolutely. Are there any last words, Kim, you'd like to share with the audience? Because the time has gone by so quickly.
I know it has. I can't believe it.
Yeah.
I think the only thing I kind of in closing, I want to just say, um, I hope that anything I said today isn't going to be like discouraging or feel like, oh, I'll never go that deep enough to identify my false love or whatever. But I really want to put out there that everyone, no matter how many challenges and how many bad relationships you've had in the past, we all have the capacity to attract healthy love. Like if we do our key inner work, we don't have to be perfect. We don't have to have it all together and healed every traumatic experience from our past but we can get to a place where we can take a stand for healthy, thriving love. And just with some key things, it's possible for you to have healthy, thriving love. So that's the main thing I want to put out there.
Yeah, beautifully said. And you're so right. We don't want to focus on the negative. We do have to talk about it sometimes from time to time so we can acknowledge it and move on, right?
Right.
But the most important thing, I think, as you said, is that you deserve it. And so why not, be able to grab it and think of the other side. And the other thing that touched me tonight is what you said was do you know what it looks like? Do you have you envisioned, have you made this vision for yourself of what you want the other side to be like, what you want that relationship to look like? How does it look like to you? How does it feel like to
Mhm.
you?
Right.
And once you start envisioning that, I think that you put out in the universe, and then that will happen to you, right?
Right.
Yeah. So
Exactly.
your
And
work.
then just recognizing what the patterns have been identifying what is the key thing what are those patterns, and then recognizing what you can do to turn those around.
Absolutely. That's great. And of course, you guys know that if you need a little help along the way, Kim Von Berg is more than happy to help you. Just go to her website, thrivinglovingrelationships.com. And then her personal site is kimvonberg.com. That's KIMVONBERG.com. So
I
go
just want to
check
say
her
one thing. The Thriving Loving Relationships is primarily for singles.
out. Okay.
KimVonberg.com is primarily for couples.
Okay. Ooh,
Yeah.
that's good to know.
Yeah.
Okay, so singles, you want to go to thrivinglovingrelationships.com. And then, of course, if you're in a relationship and you maybe need some help, because I think we do when we're in relationships sometimes, because we want them to last forever, then go to kimvonberg.com. Thank you for that, sharing
Yes.
that with us, because I think that that's important. But you're great. You're absolutely great. And I want to thank you again for being one of our elites and coming on. I know you're going to be coming on again, throughout the year, and helping us with a few things, and helping those that really truly want relationships. So I thank you so much.
Yeah. Thank you. Thank you so much. I love being here today.
Oh, it's great having you. All right, everyone, you're listening to Date the Right One. I hope you got a lot out of this. Kim Von Berg is very special, and so you definitely want to check out her website. Again, it's thrivinglovingrelationships.com. If you're in a relationship, check out kimvonberg.com, and all the information is there for you. check them both out. You know what? It's a wealth of information. You don't want to miss it. You want to keep on building yourself as you move forward, and so that you can create healthy, loving relationships that you truly desire. Need some help along the way? Don't hesitate to reach out and let people know that you need a little bit of help. Kim is right on our website, goingsolonetwork.com. You can find her page right there under the elites, Kim Von Berg. She's right there. All of her links, everything is there. You just click away and have a good time. Those of you that want to reach out to me, my email is goingsolonetwork@gmail.com. Again, our website for the media is goingsolomedia.com. And everything I do is on goingsolonetwork.com, where all the singles hang out. So we want to thank our wonderful sponsors tonight, goingsolocommunity.com. Again, that is a single site helping those with the transition of relationship loss through to transition of dating, and then also meettherightone.com, which is a dating community. So check them out. We hope you will. I am affiliated with them and I love them dearly. So you guys are listening to Date the Right One. It's about time you start dating the right one. So we want that to happen for you. Again, go to meettherightone.com and check it out. Talk to you later. Bye for now.